I appreciate you guys being here today. This episode is brought to you by the Elite Sales and Seller Finance Mastery. This is a 2-day live virtual event that I'll be throwing with my man Max Jimenez and myself. This event is going to show you how to get into the creative conversation pretty easily and how to put deals together quickly. So if you are interested in that at all, you can just go to elitesalesandsellerfinance.com. Grab yourself a general admission ticket for only $197. I think for $297 you can get the recordings, and then for $497 you can upgrade to see if you'd like to enter to win a trip into San Antonio, which is an amazing, amazing giveaway. All right, we got a lot to talk about today, and we are going to start right off, right at the top. We're talking about how to get involved in creative real estate. Now, creative real estate is all the rage, and here's usually the process for new investors. You get on YouTube University, and you can only learn so much on there, right? You try to digest as much information as possible, because with so many acquisition strategies and so many disposition strategies, again, acquisitions and exits, it's very, very confusing to the new investor. And then mostly the path or the journey kind of looks like this: is you get into real estate, or you find something on YouTube, you resonate with somebody, you try to put all the systems and the processes together so that you could be super successful, only to find out that you wind up spending a bunch of money on either lead generation or cold callers or texting platforms or list services, only to come up empty handed. Because those things really work hand in hand with a closer, having somebody who's able, that once you do find a motivated seller, to actually close the deal. Now, when you're working in wholesale, you're trying to buy pieces of property at a discount. And if you are actively prospecting each and every day, your competition is pretty fierce, because you've got so many people inside the wholesale game that are doing exactly what you're doing. They're pitching the exact same stuff, trying to get properties at a discount, usually at 50 cents of the dollar. It means about 50 cents, about half of what the property is really worth. Now you say to yourself, well, why would somebody sell me a piece of property at 50 cents of the value? And truthfully, there's one word that comes to mind when somebody would do that, and that is the word convenience. So out of convenience, they're willing to discount the price for the convenience of a cash sale. They don't have to worry about closing costs. They don't have to worry about commissions. They don't have to worry about all the other costs associated with it. So out of convenience and speed, they will sell the house at a discount. So you put all these systems together, you put all these processes together, you get these big sets of lists where you're trying to find motivated sellers. And ultimately, what happens is it becomes a numbers game. You have to put huge sets of property data into a funnel, ultimately, and hope that it has a constant drip. Now, when it starts to drip motivated sellers, which is what you're looking for, you then have to be able to close them. But again, you have to overcome the objection of being able to buy it at a discount. Where seller finance is so interesting is creative real estate and seller finance is all about being able to give sellers what they're asking for while you make more money over the long run. So, how does that actually work? Well, in order to understand how that works, you need to understand how a bank makes money. And ultimately, what happens is a bank will qualify you for a loan. And once you've been through the process of qualifying, they want to know if you have a job, a W 2, a tax return. They're going to run a credit report on you. Now, once they find all of that information out, they're then going to tell you what they're willing to lend to you. You can't walk into a bank and say, hey, I want to borrow $800,000 when your income or your credit worthiness will only allow you to borrow $400,000. And then, depending on how credit worthy you are, the bank will then tell you, hey, listen, we're going to lend this to you at a certain interest rate. Now, you could try to negotiate the interest rate, but sometimes you'll wind up being unsuccessful. The bank knows exactly what they're doing. So, when you understand how a bank makes money and you understand that you can do everything that a bank can do, when you find an unmotivated seller, in other words, you can't buy that piece of property at a discount, the question becomes, could you turn them into a motivated seller by being able to offer more money? Now, I run across wholesalers every single day that love the idea of creative real estate or seller finance. But what they want to do is they usually want to use that as an option and not a solution. So they'll pitch an idea. They'll say, hey, listen, your house is worth $100,000. I'd like to buy it for $50,000. The homeowner would then say no. And they go, well, I have this other option. I want you to seller finance me the house. I want you to be the bank. And if you give me the terms that I need, I can balloon you out in 30 years. When you say something like that to somebody who doesn't understand, you can really put sellers on their heels where they get uncomfortable. They don't understand exactly what you're talking about. So there's a very specific way to pitch seller finance so that you almost make it so that the seller is setting up the terms for you. You see, a lot of seller finance is education. You have to educate the seller on how a bank really makes money without telling them that they're going to be the bank. All you're really asking for is you're asking for time in exchange for more money. Now, let me slow it down and try to back it up just a tad. If a seller isn't willing to sell their house at a discount, can you create motivation by being able to offer more money? Well, let's talk about what's most important to most property owners. In all my experience in real estate, I find that these two things are the most important: money and time. We're all looking for more money so we can enjoy our time. We're all looking for more time so we can make more money. And nothing rings more true than when it comes to somebody selling their property. They're trying to get the highest purchase price that they possibly can. Most importantly, they're trying to net as much money as they possibly can. So with seller finance, you being able to give sellers more than what they're asking for, it's usually a fantastic solution. Now, let's talk about the leads that you get, right? You prospect for leads and you try to put more and more sellers, not so much on the hook to sell their property, but you try to put them into a funnel, right? Just a big funnel. It's what I kind of wanted you to think about it as a funnel. You get all these leads and it comes down the funnel, and when it gets down to the narrow part of the funnel is when it'll start to drip out a lead. So when you finally start to drip out a lead, there's certain criteria that you're looking for to see if they're going to be a candidate for seller finance. And a perfect candidate for seller finance is going to be a piece of property that is completely paid off. Now you'd say to me, Cash, why would somebody want to sell you something on seller finance when the piece of property is usually paid off? Well, the question is, who is the ideal candidate? The ideal candidate is not a primary homeowner. It's somebody who has an investment piece of property that's used to collecting checks each and every month. So if you can find a landlord who doesn't want to deal with the management of the property, but loves the idea of collecting their cash or their rent check every single month, that's going to be a perfect seller finance candidate. Now, here's where most people go wrong is you think that by going to a bank, well, let me rephrase that. When you go to a bank, you take out a loan. When you go to somebody who owns a piece of property outright, in other words, they don't owe any money on it, you're technically getting a loan from the seller and they're loaning you their equity. They're not giving you money the way a bank would give you money. So, because you understand how a bank makes money, you can then structure terms that best suit you, all while making it a win win for the seller when the seller really is looking for the most money. So, let's just throw out a hypothetical. Somebody's looking for $100,000. Fair market value of the property is $100,000. There's 50,000 wholesalers trying to buy that for $50,000. And then you come along and say, hey, Mr. Seller, I'd be happy to give you the $100,000 that you're asking for. As a matter of fact, I don't even think we need to negotiate the price. I'm comfortable with the price that you're asking. But the one caveat to me giving you the $100,000 is that I can't give it to you all in one lump sum. I'm going to have to make you payments. Are you comfortable with giving me some time? And the one question that I give to all of my students, even out on the social media platforms, is, hey, Mr. Seller, if I gave you what you wanted, how much time would you give me to pay it off? And ultimately, what I've asked for is I've asked for time, and I've asked for what most people refer to as a balloon. So let's talk about how a loan actually works. Okay? Again, you go to the bank, you qualify for the loan. The bank tells you how much money they're going to lend you. Then the bank tells you what interest rate you're going to pay. And when the bank structures the loan, there are three parts to that quote unquote closing. There's the terms or the note of the loan. Then there's the deed of trust. And then there's the deed. There are three separate pieces of paper, three separate legal documents. Okay? In this country, everything that we put our name on or we sign to, when it's in writing, it's valid. Okay? So there's the note, the deed of trust, and the deed. The note has the terms of what the bank is going to lend you. They say, hey, Cash, I'm going to give you $400,000. I'm going to loan you $400,000. There's a 30-year term. That means that the loan has got to be paid off in 30 years. And here is the interest rate that's associated with it. And there's nothing stopping me from selling that piece of property at year 2. So they can give me a loan for 30 years, but in 2 years, if I decide I want to sell it, I can sell it. The loan gets paid off. I make whatever equity is available inside of that transaction, and on we go. But the number one objection that you're going to face with seller finance is that most people don't want to wait 30 years to get paid off. So how do you get around that objection? And how do you structure terms that make sense for you? What if you found a seller that says, you know what, Cash, I agree. I'll take your $100,000, but I want you to pay me off in 12 months. Would that make any sense for me? Absolutely not. As I come into a down market, doesn't really make any sense. But if I said to the seller, hey, I'm willing to give you a little bit more than what you're asking, I'm willing to give you $110,000 for the piece of property. Here's what I would need from you, Mr. Seller. If you allow me to make you equal monthly payments of X for 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, we might have a really fantastic deal. Because from an investment standpoint, you're working on the spread between what you're taking in on rent and what you're paying out to the seller. So the same way you work on a spread in wholesale, you work on a spread in seller finance. Okay? Now, if you are just getting started in your real estate journey, it can get incredibly confusing. There is absolutely fierce competition, and everybody is looking for an unfair advantage over the competition. The question is, how do you literally gain an unfair advantage over the competition? And it's by understanding creative real estate. Another thing that's so great about seller finance creative real estate is that when I talk to most investors, they truly want to hold rentals. They believe that by holding rentals, they can truly get wealthy. Well, I'm here to tell you first and foremost that that is the truth. You cannot get wealthy by wholesaling for the rest of your life. The same way you couldn't earn yourself to wealth. You've got to invest. So it's in your best interest to understand how the banks operate, understand that you can do everything that a bank can do. And when you get really good with the math and really good with the word tracks, you'll never let a deal slip by again. My name is Cash Money Mike. I've been in real estate for 23 years, and it hasn't always been easy for me. I've made some incredible mistakes. I've had some fantastic failures and some fantastic successes. But it was through those bumpy roads and learning what I thought I knew was to be true to gain real wealth was actually polar opposite. I didn't really realize that I had to understand how the banks made money in order for me to truly get wealthy. You see, the long-term investors, they don't sell property. They hold property. So if you can identify a seller, overpay for a piece of property, walk into that property with some equity, and get an incredible spread each and every month, you too can be very, very wealthy. I've got amazing students that have been locking up seller finance deals in the last 11 months alone. We've locked up $3.9 million worth of value in long-term wealth, which is incredible. And I'd like to invite you to take part in some of the stuff that we've got going on. So there is an amazing event that I'm throwing with my man, Max Jimenez. If you don't know who Max Jimenez is, he's got a great library of content, and he's one of the top sales performance experts in the real estate industry. What's so great about Max, along with some other guys, is he does a really good job of moving into the creative conversation, right? So you have to understand what you're selling in order to sell it. And I just think it's amazing that when you truly understand, you could put incredible, incredible deals together. The Elite Sales and Seller Finance Mastery 2.0 is a live virtual event. It's going to happen August 11th and 12th. You can get a general admission ticket here for $197. You could take another silver package for $297, which will give you the recordings. And then you can also take another package for $497, which gets you into an entry to win an all expenses paid trip into Wholesaling Live, which is an amazing event. out in San Antonio. If you'd like, um, if you'd like to join that, just go to Elite Sales and SellerFinance.com. You'll see it on the ticker right here, and you can grab your ticket. Once this is sold out, it's sold out. The price point is absolutely insane here because my seller finance training is usually thousands of dollars each and every month. Max runs the same training where his training is thousands of dollars each month. We're not going to cut back on anything. We're going to give you the exact blueprint on how we create long-term wealth and not let a deal slip by. If anybody's interested in wholesaling live, you can just go to wholesalinglive.io and grab a ticket there. My man Max and myself will be there along with some other buddies of mine that are very big inside the real estate space. We would be happy to have you out there. You could rub shoulders with us. Wholesaling Live is a really great event. It's a completely live event. There's about 600 people in a room, and we're locking up deals live, which is amazing. The best part of it is that if you actually lock up a deal live, you can ultimately keep the money, which is amazing. So that's awesome. Facebook user just said I signed up last night, so we appreciate you. We appreciate you signing up and taking advantage of the Elite Sales and Seller Finance 2.0 Mastery. So we appreciate you immensely. All right, so here's what I'm going to be doing moving forward here. I'm going to be doing a lot of these videos, little videos, and I'm going to start working on this whiteboard back behind me. I'm going to start bringing you through the creative journey so that you can understand how to identify, underwrite, structure, and pitch these deals. We're going to break it down one by one. We got a lot of topics to cover, so make sure that you join me here live. Make sure that you're following along on the Facebook groups or on YouTube. Again, if you'd like to take advantage of Elite Sales and Seller Finance, you can fast track your success for $197. You're going to get 8 full hours of training, 2 full hours of Q&A. You get invited into the private Facebook group. Max has some stuff on his end that he's going to give to you, so it's going to be absolutely amazing. Okay. I want to thank you for joining me here today, and I'll be posting more of these videos pretty much daily. We'll go usually about 10 or 15-minute videos just to give you a little something to get going. If you're finding yourself stuck or you don't know how to get into a deal or you don't know how to structure a creative deal, you could always shoot me a DM at Cash Money Mike on IG. You can also find me at Cash Money Mike, the creative real estate Facebook page. I've got a YouTube out now at Cash Money Mike. You can follow me on Twitter, and ultimately I've got a free Facebook group. Let me give you a couple of things here. If you'd like to get involved in a free seller finance class, you can go ahead and you can scan that QR code right now, and I'd be happy to see you inside there. That's going to happen on July 9th. There is a new ebook coming out, which you can take advantage of now. You can get on the wait list for that. It is almost done. And then if you'd like to join me in the Seller Finance Boardroom, which is a private Facebook group of like-minded investors, that's $99 a month. You can join me in there, and we can go live in that place too. Okay. All right. I appreciate you all being here. I'll see you next time.